Sonic X Episode 30. With none of them injured from the plane's rough landing this time, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles avoid missiles hitting the egg carrier just fine. You'd think those missiles would damage it enough to send it falling. Instead, Knuckles jumps through a hole in it to look for the Master Emerald shards, and Sonic's fine with this while Tails isn't. Amy is going to be a badass against Deco and Boko. Never mind, she's not even allowed that! Because Eggman shows up. This Amy is so worthless that she's not even allowed to crush Deco and Boko. Oh good! After Sonic shows up, she's at least allowed to knock around Eggman and these guys with a hammer. But then she loses the bird anyways because of Crane. She could have just ran away. Why do the heroes not do anything when Eggman is taking the emerald? They're right in front of him! Why don't they just punch him, tackle him, instead of standing around? Sonic could spin dash Deco and Boko apart instantly. This is even stupider than the game because the game had limited animation where characters just had a few poses. It came out in 1998. But here, there's no excuse for not making the characters more active. Like, you could have had Deco and Boko hold Sonic and Amy back. Gamma tries to shoot at Sonic with missiles while flying around. Well, at least that looks exciting compared to the game. Sonic jumps up on some flying debris and kicks it towards Gamma. That made no sense, he's not heavy enough for that, but whatever. Finally, we see Amy stand in front of Gamma with her arms stretched out, and she says that he doesn't mean to be bad, worst line ever. And finally, she says he set her free. Tails says that he has a feeling they're losing altitude, which is a better line. It's good that we got at least some kind of well-animated fight with Gamma and Sonic in the show. And that Amy had good animation in front of Gamma instead of just slowly walking over to him and then turning to him and standing. Amy's really worried about Gamma, which is a side of her we should see a lot more often, and I'm really glad that in the SC1 hub world, Gamma said he had auto repair systems, because that explains how he recovered from the situation. But still, Gamma's voice here ruins all of his charm. Tails flies away with Amy, so much from being Sonic's right-hand man, we have to be unoriginal. And Big finds Froggy trapped in something. Apparently, the show thought that Knuckles earning the Master Emerald shards back was filler we didn't need to see. But did think that Knuckles getting a pointless vision of the past was something we need to see. This is an action series, isn't it? We didn't need to see the last story cutscene with Tikal. Sonic will see it anyways. Well, at least she has actually good acting this time and cries. Big drinks from Eggman's soda machine, and he uses his fishing rod to get Chris over to Froggy. He almost falls and isn't able to reach him. There's some tension as Chris is about to fall. At least they're using the fishing rod in a creative way. Big's 4Kids voice is just as stupid. They didn't address the problem at all. They get Froggy back from where he was captured just to run into chaos. At least this makes more sense than Froggy randomly being in the water where Big can fish him up in the egg carrier. Why are Big and Chris just standing there when Chaos and Eggman are threatening them? They should have made a run for it a lot earlier. There's never any point to listening to what the villains have to say. Froggy is grabbed by Eggman, and we see him spit out an emerald. That's better animation for sure. He throws them into Chaos, and it transforms into Chaos 6. I wish we got to hear Chaos 6's cool electric guitar theme, but instead, I honestly don't remember what the music and the sounds like at all. And I think about how supremely lame this fight is going to be compared to the game in Archie, because not only is it daytime and not night, but Knuckles and Sonic aren't here to throw ice bombs at it, to fight it creatively, and break themselves out of the ice. Instead, it's just Big and Chris. How could there possibly be a good action scene? They even get trapped inside of Chaos. And yet somehow they don't drown. Apparently, Sonic didn't jump off the egg carrier because he's right here to save Chris. And Chaos is apparently solved from the outside now because he bounces Sonic away. Because water can do that, right? That makes sense for a water being, right? No, it doesn't. Fleetway made more sense. How is Chris not already drowned? How is he able to talk without merely gurgling? Oh, and it turns out Knuckles is still there too. Why did they leave the egg carrier before they'd ever find out about Chaos 6? They had no reason to know to stay here. Well, I guess because they wanted to get the emeralds back from Chaos. But they never say that. Sonic spin dashes through Chaos and saves them in one hit. Knuckles mentioned the shovel claws, but I don't care. That wasn't a proper fight scene. This was so lame compared to Archie. What else is new? They didn't even freeze it, which was creative. Sonic jumps onto the Eggmobile as it's trying to escape, and at least that's going to be a good excuse for why Sonic survived escaping the egg carrier. That's better than him jumping off. Not better than him riding on top of Knuckles while he's gliding, though. But how did Big know how to pilot Tails' plane? It was amusing that the robots parachuted off, but seriously, planes are complicated to pilot. And the reason I say it was better that Knuckles was gliding with Sonic on his back is that I refuse to believe Eggman would have instantly gotten Sonic to fall off his Eggmobile while he was trying to escape the egg carrier. Considering how fast he got Chris to fall off the Eggmobile, that wouldn't have worked for Sonic. How does Birdie have a picture of his brother and sister around his neck? It's just a normal bird. It's not explained that the bird was owned as a pet by someone. It doesn't look like a parrot. So who on normal human Earth would own it as a pet? Sonic spin dashes down a bunch of trees, complaining about a headache for no reason. That's right, Sonic spin dashes down some trees. Then we see the president's former aide picking food from a dumpster. You'd think he would get another job just fine. This is so forced. Like, a minimum wage job at least. Eggman mocks them, and the aide asks for his help. Naturally, he's desperate. It would be interesting to see him work for Eggman from now on, even if he wouldn't be able to do anything interesting because he's just a normal human. He runs after some box that turns out to morph and expand into a giant missile. Well, that would help to put him out of his misery. But how could that make sense? A missile wouldn't grow like that from a tiny object. That was dumb. It's not like it transformed the air into missile parts, did it? This is really dark. The missile lands on a bridge but doesn't explode because meta logic. Destroying the city would be too dark, so let's destroy the city later on anyways. It makes a lot more sense that Eggman himself isn't in front of the missile, because he doesn't want to blow himself up. Instead, he sends Bokoon to give them a message. Tails wastes a whole bunch of time trying to think of what he'd do based on what Sonic could say to him. He thinks he can't do anything at first, and then he says that if he cut the wrong wire, the missile will detonate. He wastes even more time reflecting on when he first met Sonic, with the show reusing footage lazily. And all the time Tails is wasting, you'd think the missile would have already blown up. He was clearly acting confident around Sonic when he was flying the tornado, so this character reflection comes out of nowhere. He was independent before. He barely spends any time with Sonic in the show. Also, how is Bokoon not scared of the missile blowing up on him? Instead, he was just doing a countdown like there was no danger. He knows what the missile's for. Speaking of that, Bokoon actually shakes Tails' hand for defusing the missile. And then says just wait until he tells Eggman, like he disapproves of him. So, that was sending mixed messages. That was confusing. I guess he's shaking his hand because he appreciates him saving his life. But he lies to him to save face? But still, this doesn't look like something a bad guy would do after Hero did something heroic. And Tails doesn't lampshade it. Tails defusing a missile does make a lot more sense for saving the city from it than he beats a boss fight with Eggman and then magically saves the day. See, that's what can be great about adaptations. They give the writers a chance to make the original plot make more sense and fix the plot holes. But most of the time, the adaptation is so pathetically samey that it didn't get the chance to improve things. There's nothing good about that. This is how the story should have been in the first place. Okay, so Tails saves the city from being destroyed by a missile with a bunch of people there, so that's good. Knuckles gets the last of his master ammo back from the egg carrier. Sonic beats Chaos 6 in one measly hit because the animators got lazy, and they didn't have enough space in the episode to have a proper fight scene. Gamma escapes just fine, and we don't see what he does next because that's cutting out the filler. But we do see a pointless to call flashback, so never mind. Priorities! We don't need to see a proper Chaos 6 fight. It did make more sense that Froggy was trapped in the egg carrier as opposed to randomly swimming around some arbitrary water body in it. Like, frogs aren't known for swimming around in water, they're known for jumping around on land. And it made more sense that Tails had to defuse the missile, and Sonic had to hitch a ride on Eggman's Eggmobile to escape the egg carrier that way, though this could be done better. So while this was pathetically samey and boring as a result, At least it tried to make some improvements. But it still doesn't explain why Birdie had a Chaos Emerald and a picture of his family in the first place, when that was the whole justification for the rest of Amy's plot. It'd be fine if it was explained that it was literally one of those magical flickies from another dimension, but even then it doesn't have opposable thumbs, so how would a bird make that picture and put it around his neck? This can't be a normal bird if it has this stuff. And it doesn't look like the kind of bird that someone would keep as a pet. And why wouldn't it just still be living with that person then? Did that person die? And they don't bother explaining that Gamma has auto recovery systems. So here, there's no explanation for why Gamma survived his fight with Sonic. And since we don't see what he does after this in this episode, we could have just had Sonic free him from his robot shell right away, and the overall plot of the arc would have just been better.